In these dark days of partisan gridlock, if you're looking for something that Republicans and Democrats can agree on, then look no further than the governor of Florida, Mr. Rick Scott. His approval ratings have been stuck in the 30s, making him the least popular Republican governor in the country, and with good reason. Under his leadership, the state has been accused of warehousing disabled children in nursing homes in order to save money on the costs of in-home care. Headlines from the Miami Herald read, "A Florida mom's lonely fight for her disabled son." Another reads, "A child's sad death in a Florida nursing home." These tragic stories stem from an egregious example of rank hypocrisy. Back in 2011, just hours after Scott participated at a Special Olympics event, the governor ordered cuts of up to 40% in programs for the disabled. Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Alan Grayson of Florida. Congressman, welcome and congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you.
Congressman, Governor Scott has repeatedly turned down the offer of federal funds that would allow parents to care for their disabled children at home. Now, in the interests of complete transparency, we cared for my own disabled brother at home until he died. But in a letter from the Department of Justice, it says Florida, and I'm quoting, has planned, structured and administered a system of care that has led to the unnecessary separation and isolation of hundreds of children in nursing facilities. Congressman, what kind of person is it that chooses to target the most defenseless and weakest members of our society?
A sick, cruel, sadistic person who happened to be elected governor despite the fact that he committed the largest fraud against Medicare in our history. I have to tell you that sometimes the judgment of the voter is almost inexplicable. We've taken somebody who has an appalling record, a callousness to him that's manifest, a dishonesty that's manifest, and we've made him governor of the third largest state in the country, and the results are shocking. You know, you look at what he's done and you say to yourself, maybe Tony Soprano could have done worse, maybe not. It's hard to say.
Well, you used Tony Soprano as an example, sir, but I was reminded of Nicolae Ceausescu in Romania, whose treatment of disabled children there, which started in the 1970s, where they were hidden and housed in the most appalling conditions. Now, of course, that's an extreme example, but is this his preference for disabled children in America in 2013, that you simply house these disabled children in facilities away from their families?
Well, it seems that it is. I mean, either that or he's under this bizarre misconception that just because he has $200 billion in his bank account, so does everybody else. It's exactly the way you say. He's preying on the most vulnerable people in our society, not just children, but sick children, disabled children, children who are desperate for help just to stay alive. And a certain number of them are going to die because of his cruelty. Like many right-wingers in this country, he has an enormous capacity for pain as long as it's somebody else's.
What is his theoretical justification, his ostensible justification for what he's doing in separating disabled children from their families? What's his justification?
Well, the stated justification, of course, is the usual one, which is that somehow or other we're desperate to save money, and therefore we have to toss women and children first over into the ocean. And it's wrong, but it's nothing new. You know, it is sadistic, it is cruel, but it's typical. Back in 2004, when Jeb Bush was governor, the Republicans saw there was a waiting list of almost 100,000 children for Kid Care, our children's health insurance program here in Florida.
Right.
So to deal with that tragic problem, the Republicans eliminated the list.
Yeah, nice work. This appears to be a strategic pattern for Governor Scott, because this week he met with Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius to talk about the Affordable Care Act. He says its implementation will cost Florida taxpayers $26 billion to expand the state's Medicaid program. PolitiFact says it'll cost $1 billion. So is Governor Scott both callous and a liar?
It's a blood libel, and it's tragic. We have 20% of the state that doesn't have any health coverage at all. Among Latinos, it's 40%. We have 4 million people in Florida who can't see a doctor when they're sick. Thanks to the expansion of the Medicaid program that I voted in favor of, almost half of those people will be able to see a doctor when they're sick unless Governor Scott prevents it. And the federal government picks up every single dollar of the expense of doing that for the first 3 years of the program, and then after that point, the states can opt out. So it's sadistic, it's tragic, it's disgusting, and it's cruel.
Congressman Alan Grayson, I thought you'd tell it like it is. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, too.